Hi everyone. Happy Saturday. I cannot believe it is Saturday already. It still feels like I'm sorry y'all. Forgive me if I'm trying to get I don't know why it's hard for me to get my um the lens on here kind of focus correctly. If it looks like I'm looking a different way, please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Of course I'm not a pro. So Um, yes, so I wanted to just talk a little bit. I won't take up y'all's time. I actually I just decided to take a little mini getaway, it's a solo trip. So I've never taken a solo trip before where I actually go a long ways from home alone before. I decided to do this because, celebrating my birthday and this is something I've never done before. Usually, every year on my birthday, I would just, I would like do something. I do like things locally, maybe go out to eat, spend time with family, like my siblings, and maybe I'll, do a little bit of shopping. But this time, I just decided to do something different. I'm not going to tell my age. I know I shouldn't be ashamed of my age, but yeah, I actually I'm very grateful that the Lord gave me another birthday. And I said, I'm gonna just do something different. And my sister was like, you know what, you really worked hard all year. You really need to get out. And she was like, you need to just go ahead and just she was just pushing me. And sometimes we need our loved ones. You need loved ones, love family and friends to just kind of give you that extra push because I have to admit sometimes, well, most of the times I'm like dealing with um, fear. And I think everyone, if you have not taken a solo trip before, I encourage you to do so because it helps you reflect on things. It helps you um, conquer even the smallest fears, like traveling by myself. Well, I have traveled, I've flown by myself before, but it was by air. So it was not like on a road trip. So when I was younger, I took road trips with my family. I'm the youngest of my family. And of course, I was just kind of kicking back in the back seat, letting letting my family members do all the driving. I wasn't old enough to drive, so I was just kind of kicked back and chilling. So my first it was my dad used to drive. Sometimes he would drive and there would be no stops at all. Like when we were just living in Oklahoma at the time, we sometimes traveled back and forth to California because I'm originally from California, and back in the day we moved to Oklahoma, and sometimes we went back and forth. So sometimes my mom and dad and my sister, they would all take turns driving. And it was just a different time because, when you're at a different age and stage of your life, you have different concerns or sometimes no worries. And then when you become an adult and you look back and you're like, how in the world did they do that? I've had to ask my sister when I was driving, and I live in Dallas, so I just decided to take a little getaway here locally. Like I'm at yeah, Padre Island. So I I just decided to just do a little getaway. And I was like, how often, when y'all travel, how often or how long did y'all I mean, how much time did you spend at the stop, before you continue to drive on the road? Because I think I was driving too long, you know. The island is a lot longer from where I was living at more longer than expected. I don't know if it was because I was trying not to drive too fast. I don't think I'm a slow driver. Maybe there was a little miscalculation somewhere. Yeah, so I think if something about road trips is different than flying solo. I've flown solo before, like 3 years ago, I flew to San Francisco, yeah, San Francisco first, and then later on that year, I went to Los Angeles. I've flown there, but, you have people with you, so you feel like you're more safe because you're with other people. And, sometimes you think because you're a woman, you'll be you have more risk of, driving by yourself, but you're not, it's fine. It's completely fine. Because I've talked to other women who they're actually truck drivers, and sometimes they've drove longer mileage than I have. So, just learning from other people and how they deal with things on a daily basis due to their jobs. And um and this is something that they have to do because they're making a living off of it, so they can't be afraid. That's what they do for a living. So I'm like, okay, for a few days, why not try it? Because, you just get tired of being cooped up in the house, and I want to do something different. And this is the year. And, you know, um, how I've also learned over the years that, if you travel at a certain time of year, is considered out of season. And I was thinking, was I born in an out of season? Was I born at the wrong time or wrong year? But, you know, God does not make any mistakes. Sometimes we feel like we are making the mistake, or we don't fit in, in our generation, because things are done at a different time, in a different location, or different season, or different um, way that other people are doing it. And the weather here is a little bit, a little bit icky, but that's okay. I feel good to just, you know, be out here and just enjoy my time alone and do something different, because when you're by yourself, you still have to come up with creative ways to entertain yourself and to bring happiness to yourself, or just enjoying your own company. You still have to be creative. Like, even if you're alone, you don't want to just keep doing the same thing over and over again. You don't want to keep going to the same places over and over again. So yeah, I just want to talk about that. Because, people in here, they're like, oh, you're a preacher. I'm like, no, I am not a preacher. I'm just a servant of God. I just love God. I'm not a perfect Christian. I love angels. I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm a perfect person or angel. I love angels though. They're beautiful. They're great creations from God. But I just want to talk a little bit about, like, um I know people talk about what season they are in their lives. And to be honest, I really can't tell you what season I'm in. I just know whatever season I'm in. I feel like I'm like in between seasons. I may be out of season. That's what I kind of describe things are right now. Things are out of season. And even when things are out of season, God still comes through. He still blesses you. This is what I'm learning. And I'm thinking, okay, I was like, how am I going to do this? Um, is everything going to be okay? And everything went smoothly because the Lord was with me the entire time. So, and of course, I learned that when you are, let's say, traveling, you're whatever you're doing, when it always runs smoothly when the Lord's hand is on it. You know, if God is not in it, if you don't pray before you do anything, things are not going to go as smoothly as planned, because we are trying to take all matters and plans into our own hands, and things just don't work right because, you know, God is not there, and we're not really putting the Lord there. We're not allowing the Lord to really show up. But you have, of course, even if it's something simple as traveling, some people we forget. Okay, it's just a little quick trip. I don't have to pray before I go, but you do have to pray. Anything that you do, everywhere that you go, you have to pray before you go, and just allow the peace of God to come over you, you know, and things will move smoothly. Now, just traveling by yourself, if you haven't went, is a big step, especially if you're used to having people around you, used to having family around you, you're used to having friends around you. And I learned sometimes there are some journeys you have to just walk alone. Um, sometimes in life. My mother once told me that, she was saying that, even if sometimes you may have to walk this life alone, even if, just because I was, when I was younger, is talking to my mother about, certain things that didn't go well, dating or friendships. And she was saying that, keep talking to God. And she was saying that, just keep going, even if you have to go by yourself. And it's an unpopular thing that we hear because, in society, they tell you that you have to do everything in a group. And even if you want to do things with other people and you want to do things in a group, sometimes, God has his plan, and his plans is not to hurt you. And sometimes I'm thinking, well, why do I have to do things alone? Why is it that, you know, um, you're thinking that you're odd, or you're thinking that because you know you can't always agree with how other people's way of doing things, the way they do things all the time, um, then you're feeling inadequate. But I'm here to tell you, you're not inadequate. God sometimes He does have certain timings, seasons where um, he wants, in order for him to take you to that next level, sometimes he may not always want you to have people be with you. Sometimes, especially if it's a huge destiny that he has for you. And I had to learn that this is sometimes these are the things I did not want to accept. I'm like, no, maybe the reason why I'm not fitting in is because I'm not in my hometown. I'm not um and I have to think that, okay, maybe this is where God wants me to be. And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, okay, if I was back home, if I was back in California, how would my life be? Would it be different? Would it be better? Will I be able to click? Because somewhere in your heart is telling you that this is your birthplace. You belong here. And you do, in a natural, you belong to your hometown or wherever town that you're used to being, or you grew up in. But maybe spiritually, or maybe in God's eyes, He may want you at a certain place. And I run into people who are from the place where I'm from. They're like, oh, it's not what it used to be. They say California is not what it used to be. It's they talked about some places have changed over the years, and it's not the beautiful. I mean, some part is still beautiful, but the ways of it is not as the same as it was, as I once known it. And sometimes, and it's hard to kind of let go of things that you once known, because it's a part of you. It's in your heart. Even if it's a good thing, sometimes God could take you away from a good thing and give you something better, whatever whatever that is. We don't even know, because that's why we have to put our future in God's hands. We don't even know our own future. We don't know. We have an idea of what our future may be, but we don't know. We don't know what the Lord has for us. Um, but you have to, trust that He is your guiding light. He will guard your steps, and He knows what's best for you. And He could be preparing you for what He's about to take you to. So everything, the good and sometimes the not so good things, he uses those things as a springboard to spring you up into the next level, you know. So I want to talk about blooming out of season. That's what I talked about earlier, about um, how even when you're out of season, God still blesses you, even though. And this is an example where, like, it's like, say if the Lord blesses you with something huge, and you disclose it to your family and friends, they're like, "What? How did that happen? When did that happen? That usually doesn't happen at that time, or that doesn't usually happen at that place, because they usually don't approve people, with certain credit, or they're usually strict." And that's because God is operating. And like I said, I'm not an ordained pastor. I just talk about what, you know, my experiences, like growing up in the Lord, and my experiences, how He came through for me, and how, you know, I can use other people's testimony to, you know, grow from, of how God does things out of a certain season, where it's like out of a particular time, where we as people, with in our own thinking. That's why He says, our ways, God's ways is not our ways. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. So when His thoughts are much higher than our thoughts, He'll do things out of season, out of the time frame that we think that is supposed to happen, because, like my pastor said, he steps out of eternity and into time. So when there's eternity, there's no limits. You can't say, "Oh, well, this doesn't happen here. This is not supposed to happen like this." What if God blesses you at a certain time, out of your system, out of your ruling, and out of a certain time where where you think that it's not supposed to happen. And I think that's what He wants us to do. He wants us to be broken out of a box. Sometimes we can put God in a box, and we can put what He can do, His miracles, in a box. And we're thinking, okay, because I'm in a certain situation, God's not going to bless me. Because I don't have enough money, He's not going to make doors open. Because I'm from such and such place, um, He's not going to bless me. Or because I'm part of a group, a demographic group, where they say, "Oh, you're not going to ever get a husband. You're not going to ever get married, because of the stereotype." What if God operates out of a certain stereotype? He could use somebody from a group of people where the world looks down on. He may raise that person to be something so great, make their name so great, that you wouldn't even able we can't even comprehend it. I love blessings like that. I like blessings where, while all blessings are great, big or small, but when it's outside of a system, because Jesus is not in a system. He is outside. He's not of this world. So whatever he does, it's no bounds. It's like, we don't go by our own rule in our system to determine when God blesses us, because he doesn't operate on our timetable. That's what I love everything about God. And sometimes it can be frustrating, because some things can be frustrating when you pray about things and when in your comfort level, in your comfort zone, and you're thinking that God's supposed to come through, because in your mind you're thinking, okay, it's supposed to come through at this time because I feel that is right and I've done all the right things and I've taken all the right advice. But in reality, it doesn't work that way. God works in mysterious ways. You ever hear that? I used to hear this all the time growing up, even watching a movie. I used to love watching Touched by an Angel growing up, because, and I think that's where I learned to even start really. That's a perfect example of faith. When they say that um, God works in mysterious ways, and a person could come to you and they are in a guise of an angel. They may not be from this world, even though they look like they're from this world. And sometimes you can meet people that are outside of this world, whether they're evil or good, but they look human. They look like the rest of us, right? So, you just never know. You just never know. God blesses you different times, different ways, and people ask you, well, how did you do this? How did you get this? And you don't have the money. You don't have enough money, and God blesses you with certain resources, and that is all from the grace of God. Or let's say, well, um, I'm not married, but I'm just saying. But I've heard of people where they're like, "How did she get married?" or "How did he get married?" Well, really? The people that does not look like a certain type of people in your eyes, that does not mean that God won't bless them, because you don't know what's inside of that person. And this is what we have to keep in mind. We don't know what's inside people. So whatever is flourishing out of people, um, it becomes you see an explosive miracle, just know it comes from the Lord. The ones, especially if they have a relationship. I'm talking about the ones who have a relationship with God. Now, I know that there's some wicked people that flourish too, but we go by, as believers, we go by our relationship with the Lord, like you know how we think about things, um, how things come to pass according to our faith. And sometimes um, it is definitely our faith. Our faith takes us to places where we can't on our own. So when people say I'm in a season where I'm this and I'm in my season, I could be out of season. I could describe myself as my situation as being out of season. I really don't know what season I'm in, but I know wherever season I enter into, God is there. That's the main important part. The focus is still Jesus, is still God, it is still His, how He's moving in your life. Even if you don't have a certain label of the season that you're in, it could be like, I'm in between seasons, I'm out of season. And so when things are out of season, God still blesses you. He still even the very thing that you've been praying for years and years, it can come to you during the out of season of of things that are like of what the world seems or looks at as popular. God works in mysterious ways, meaning that things that we don't understand. You know, he'll use a certain people, he'll use a particular plays, you know, just continue to just use your faith, and don't look at what's going on around you. You know, don't look at what's um, sometimes like going into our destiny or to our destination, however you get there, by car, by train, air, whatever. The ride isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's a lot longer than what expected, because we're looking at the GPS and we're determining, oh, I'm looking at the map that I'm reading, or I'm going by my own calculations of how long the trip is supposed to be. But then you have a delay. Let's say unexpected delay, or you have to make more stops. Sometimes in our journey in life, in our spiritual journey, we have to make these stops. We have to stop and refresh. We have to rejuvenate. We or other things slowing us down. It could be a distraction slowing us down, and sometimes there could be good distractions. Like when you're on that road trip, you have to make those stops to refill your car. You know, that's a needed distraction. I don't know if that's a good example, you know, or you're riding by bus, it's the same way. They, you know, I have traveled in different ways. I've traveled by air, road trip, by bus. I have traveled I have traveled it all by train, but I was locally. So everything but the boat. I have not traveled by boat before. I have not been on a cruise. But Lord willing, maybe he'll bless me with the cruise. Who knows? Who knows? He will. I mean, I'm laughing because I'm not laughing at what he can do. I'm laughing because okay, I'm a little bit afraid. How am I going to do this? So sometimes we could, you know, sometimes we could just laugh at ourselves. You know how when in the Bible when he told Sarah that you're gonna, you know, have a child, and she laughed because she's like, I am old. I'm an old woman. How am I going to birth a child? You know, but it came to pass. So we could just be like, sometimes we could, you know, laugh at ourselves, not in a bad way, but like, because you're looking at your life circumstances, you know, you're like, okay, how is this going to happen? You know, I don't make much money, and I don't do this. And this is what God wants us to expand our thinking. He wants us to stretch, even if where you are may not look popular into people's eyes, or you may work at a career that people kind of thinks that, oh, that's not really a career. But God will use that to bless you with. God will use that as a tool to bless you with, especially if um, the you know the money that you earn from your employer, use that as a seed, to use some of it, the 10% of it, to plant a seed in you know, in a really good ministry, as an offering to the Lord. You know, um, offer yourself as a living sacrifice to God, especially with you know, praise and worship. You know, um, so I just want to. I have been yapping and yapping and yapping, but I need to get to the scripture because I did not intend to be on here this long. Um, I hope the sun comes out soon because I want to, like, you know, enjoy the water, or what they say, the bay. So I want to read in Second Timothy, uh, chapter 4, verse 2. It says, "Preach the word, be prepared in season and out of season, correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction." That's the thing, great patience. Be prepared in season and out of season. like I was saying, whatever season you're in, if you're in between seasons, you're out of season, certain moments where there's a block in the time or whatever, you have to be stay prepared, mainly like prepare in your faith, not just changing your way of thinking, not just change your way of thinking, but like change um, like how you perceive your faith, like growing your faith and really spending time on having your faith because your faith pleases God. We have to remember that our faith pleases God. And I'm still learning. I'm still learning that, you know. And I have to, okay, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to go ahead and reveal my age. I just turned 47, and I'm very, very grateful to God for giving me another year. You know, like my pastor was saying, he said, if the Lord let me, he keep letting me see all these birthdays. Hey, if you're 47, 50, 100, praise God. You get when you get a little older, you get wiser, wiser, stronger. So yeah, I just want to encourage you, whatever season you're in, even if you don't know what season you're in yet, you don't even have the name of the season. You don't know if um, fall, winter, spring, summer, whatever. You don't know what season you're in. You're in between season. You're out of season. Um, just stay encouraged. Stay blessed. Stay encouraged. Um, and self care, not selfishness, but just having reflections and having that self care is strongly encouraged because if you and you know when my mother was alive, I was told by, I don't know if it was her nurse, I don't know, someone told me, I don't remember, but a lady was telling me that make sure you still take care of yourself because if you can't take care of yourself, how are you going to be good for someone else? Or how can you take care of someone else? So self, and I'm learning that too. Like I used to kind of feel guilty about like self care, but I'm learning it's just you. Sometimes we can feel guilty. We don't know because this could be lack of knowledge. You know, if you don't have that self care, pamper yourself, love yourself, and just have getting that good rest. And everything is so fast paced. Sometimes you just have to get away. You have to get away from the fast paced life that, you know, for a few days, vacations or many vacations is not something where I don't use it to where I'm like, oh, I'm being flashy or nothing like that. I use it to like being like just having a reflection, recharge, getting that proper rest, and just getting that strength so that when we go back into the real world, we can be recharged. And it's really good for your mind, it's good for your brain, it's good, it's a great meditation, you know. It's a great way of helping you get closer to God and just learning. So I hope everyone is encouraged. I will be on here soon, probably next week, maybe again this week. I'm not exactly, well, no, today is Saturday. I forgot what day it was. See, I guess I'm so, I don't know. Yeah, I'm so relaxed. I just forget because, you know, when you're in reality, you're thinking about every day and um, every marking the calendar and worrying, and sometimes you just have to get out of, I don't know, I don't like using the word rat race, but or the what do you call it, the treads, or I don't know, I forgot what they call it, like the hamster wheel. You need a break from that hamster wheel because everything just doesn't make sense where you are. Sometimes you just have to take a break. But I hope this will encourage you all. Stay blessed. And during this Christmas season, holiday season, whatever season you are, be very thankful to the Lord. And He is the reason for the season. Really, He's the reason for every season because our lives belong to God. The believers, y'all know what I'm talking about. The believers, our lives belong to Him. Our time belongs to Him. So we worship Him in spirit and in truth. Have a blessed day, everyone.